Welcome back to another edition of Force Friday, where we talk about Star Wars theories, characters, concepts, comparisons, analyzations, collectibles, and more. And today we're going to talk about 1/6 figures, specifically Hot Toys, but we're also going to be talking about some other options. Now, I'm bringing this up for a number of reasons, one of which being a lot of people that I've spoken to that have started collecting Hot Toys ended up there through the gateway drug, which is Star Wars. A runner-up would be Marvel. But more often than not, I bump into people that have gotten into the 1/6 game, and they ended up there due to original trilogy Star Wars. And once they're in, good luck finding your way out. So this topic was actually sent to me by a buddy of mine, MP Collector, shout out to him. So let's go through a little bit of history. Founded in the year 2000, Hot Toys is a company specializing in realistic 1/6 scale action figures. With its humble roots in military figures, Hot Toys gradually branched out to acquire licenses and slowly but surely has risen to become one of the most popular collectible companies in the world. Their products are unique in that they regularly get attention from mainstream news and media sources. They're also one of those things that I feel like you can show your normie friends and like a picture or something, and then when you tell them that it's a figure and not the real person, all of a sudden your normie friends want to have a conversation about it. I've had that happen on numerous circumstances. Hot Toys figures use a variety of real fabric and synthetic goods to create what we regularly call the soft goods approach over a base body. With their head sculpts being legendary for their realism, they generally retail for between $220 to $250. However, I do feel like we've seen an increase over the past few years with deluxe versions and your kind of normal standard price. And of course, they can be found at many online retailers, with Sideshow Collectibles being a popular choice for many and an official distributor. I can tell you it's very expensive to get into distributing Hot Toys. I have a local place here where I live that carries them, and the amount of money that they had to spend up front just to be able to say that they were an official distributor was substantial. I'm not going to put their business out there nor get in their pockets, but I want to make it clear that it was no joke. Also, whenever this store has like a sale or something, they never apply it to Hot Toys because the margin that they make on it is minimal. Just interesting food for thought. You know, I get into the business nooks and crannies of this stuff. It's what fascinates me. So it took me a while, in all honesty, to get into Hot Toys. You know, I used to make the joke that they're dolls as opposed to action figures, and I still believe that, to be fair. But part of the problem was I didn't understand them. I didn't get it. And it took me seeing my buddy Chris Pinkerton, co-host of Nerd Rage Radio and creator of Crashbox Customs. It took his display for me to finally understand what they were. They're action figures, in a sense, but not really, because they're not meant to perform the same tasks that action figures do. What sank in for me the moment that I saw this display was what they ultimately are posable statues with soft goods. Now, I've collected 1/6 statues for a while, but the options of switching out so many accessories and putting them in unique poses, albeit limited due to the soft goods and some of the engineering, was super alluring to me. And then how they kind of fit perfectly in a DTOF, in my opinion, is probably the only real appropriate choice of collectible to be displayed in a DTOF. Not a Hot Toy, but 1/6 scale stuff. It just fits kind of perfectly. And when I saw that ensemble, it clicked for me and I got it. And that's what changed my perspective regarding the brand. Back to business. Hot Toys' first Star Wars figure was released in 2012. The DX-07 Luke Skywalker Bespin outfit from Empire Strikes Back. Now, ironically, or perhaps not so, it's one of the few that I don't have in regards to characters of Hot Toys of the franchise. But a re-release is coming, so it's good news for me. The release consisted of a 2-pack with a standard and battle damage version and was part of the DX line, which features posable eyes. DX figures are made to scale and style with other Hot Toys releases, so he'll work with the other Star Wars figures, obviously. After Luke's release, there was very little news on the Hot Toys Star Wars front until July of 2014, when Hot Toys announced they had reacquired the license to produce Star Wars products. That's when it really became official. 2014. We got Han Solo, Chewbacca, a Stormtrooper, Boba Fett, Darth Vader announced soon after. Since then, Hot Toys has produced plenty of Star Wars figures with multiple releases and announcements per year, with figures produced from every live-action Star Wars film. So if you were interested in getting started, the question would be, where to start. And it's complicated. The 1/6 scale is not exclusive to Hot Toys, and there are multiple companies producing figures for this market. Hot Toys, however, is considered to be kind of the reigning king in terms of output, quality, and popularity. Let's talk about Sideshow for a minute. Beginning in 2006, Sideshow Collectibles began producing 1/6 scale figures from across the Star Wars saga. Their line is extensive, covering most of the principal characters from the prequels and sequels. However, in the last several years, releases have slowed, with Sideshow finding it hard to compete with the quality of Hot Toys. Since 2014, they have mainly focused on lesser characters such as bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back, or their own takes on characters in the Mythos line, which are awesome, and have had the ability to see the Mythos Obi-Wan up close. Beautiful figure. Generally, Sideshow collectibles are not to the same standard and quality as Hot Toys in most regards, especially head sculpts. Most of their older figures are severely outdated. However, their more modern figures, such as the bounty hunters, their take on R2 and 3PO, and some of their later clone troopers, such as Phase 2, Captain Rex, and the Clone Trooper Shiny and Veteran sets, are comparable and will absolutely work in a display. When beginning a Star Wars collection, all of the principal characters from A New Hope are finished. Farm Boy Luke, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, etc. They can be easily purchased on the secondary market, but are far more expensive than their original releases. Most of them are $300 to $400. Han Solo is considered by many to have somewhat of an outdated head sculpt. The Han Solo Stormtrooper disguise has a far better likeness, but that figure was exclusive and is very expensive. Third-party head casts can be purchased on eBay for this and many other characters for around $70 to $90. And many of them do look great, though not quite the same standard as the originals. Other original trilogy characters such as Tarkin, both versions of Boba Fett, A New Hope and Empire versions of Vader, the Emperor, Royal Guards, and Stormtroopers are also available. Prequel releases were more limited, but have recently become super prominent, with Anakin from Revenge of the Sith being the first release. Darth Maul, Anakin, and Obi-Wan, Yoda, and Count Dooku are all available now, with many more prequel figures on the way and up for pre-order. Sequel trilogy figures are also abundant. Troopers, Finn, Kylo, Rey, as well as other figures like Phasma, the Praetorian Guards, etc., etc. Their Force Awakens line, however, was very overproduced, and almost all of the figures from it can be found for as low as $90 to $160. Subsequent figures from The Last Jedi onwards have held their value far more steadily. So another question would be where to buy. As mentioned, Hot Toys are available at many online retailers. However, sites like Sideshow Collectibles are generally well received, as they are an official distributor, and many other sites sell for an inflated price due to importing. Sideshow also offers the payment plan, which I can tell you firsthand has come in handy for a guy like me, who sometimes has $16 left in his bank account before payday. Older figures as well as new ones can be found on eBay, but you know the vibes. You're going to pay a late tax. You got to worry about the quality, the use of the figure, how it was displayed, how it was cared for, the environment it came from, etc., etc., etc. That's always the risk, right? So do yourself a favor, check the seller's feedback, check comparative prices, get a lay of the land before you make a commitment that's of substantial value. An excellent option and possibly the best all around is using Facebook collecting groups. There are numerous ones devoted to discussing and selling Hot Toys, and they are often cheaper than through the stores. You have a far better chance of getting an older figure for a more reasonable price and possibly even a bargain. Of course, once again, you know the vibes. Use goods and services if you don't know the person. Pay the extra couple bucks and secure your investment. My buddy Andy, who helps me a lot with the Force Friday stuff, has bought most of his Hot Toys through these very groups and has yet to have a bad experience. Now, that sort of stuff covers the 1/6 scale, quote-unquote action figure, or what I commonly call doll line of Star Wars. But there are other options. My first introduction to 1/6 scale stuff in general was the Kotobukiya line, which had vinyl statues that weren't very well made and actually put me off to Kotobukiya for many years until I had recent encounters where I've seen the growth, evolution, and sort of quality raise across the board. But I have their Darth Maul and their Vader, and I've heard rumors of them trying to get it back again. However, licensing does get tricky with Star Wars, and many companies bid on their license agreement when the contracts are available. For instance, Sideshow, Kotobukiya, Hot Toys, and let's say Prime 1 could all put in a bid for Star Wars 1/6 scale figures and collectibles when the contract was available. Lucasfilm licensing could look at it and say, okay, we're going to give Kotobukiya 1/10, we're going to give Sideshow 1/6, we're going to give Hot Toys 1/6, and we're going to give Prime 1 1/4. Not everybody gets to do every scale. It's the same reason why we see issues between Black Series and SHF in regard to Bluefin and what they're allowed to show at American trade shows. And then recently, Gentle Giant has kind of thrown their hat back in the game with new 1/6 statues available. And I would imagine many more to come. I'm not entirely happy with what we see in the statue department regarding Star Wars. However, much like their figure line, I do like the Sideshow Mythos stuff. So your options basically come down to, on the figure front, the modern Sideshow stuff and any of the Hot Toys stuff. You can also supplement them with different statues that are within the same scale. For instance, I have done this with my Count Dooku, which is a Hot Toys Count Dooku that supplements a Gentle Giant, I believe, Asajj Ventress of the same scale. I was able to pose them together and they look remarkable. Pardon my echo there. I was making sure it was Gentle Giant, and it is. One of my favorite displays. This is a way to diversify the options within the 1/6 scale market, because the chances of us ever getting a Hot Toys Asajj Ventress are probably slim to none, since there isn't a live action representation of her, unfortunately. I can tell you firsthand, having some of the original Hot Toys Star Wars releases and subsequently having their most modern releases, the growth is substantial. The articulation has gotten better. The soft goods, in terms of how they look, how they lay, and their believability, have gotten better. The accessories have gotten more advanced. The faces have gotten better. Now, to be fair, in playing devil's advocate, they may have gotten better because they have digital scans of most of the new actors and actresses. Whereas with the original trilogy, they're probably just hand sculpting them off of pictures. So I'll shoot them some bail in that regard. But generally speaking, the soft goods have advanced tenfold. See what I... Forget it. The accessories have gotten more sophisticated. The engineering has gotten more sophisticated. The sculpts have gotten better. The paint has gotten better. We're talking about 6 years of growth, and it's significant. I think that Sideshow pretty much let go of the movie stuff and is going to focus more on this Mythos line, which I think is fascinating. I love their takes on these characters, specifically that Obi-Wan. Now, I'd be lying to you if I said I don't like the statues more, because I do. However, I think this is a nice alternative as well, and it's also interesting and unique. And that pretty much rounds out your 1/6 options without supplementing with statues, which, as previously addressed, can work just fine. I can tell you that a 1/6 display is a very impressive one. It stops people dead in their tracks. It stops the people like us that are into this stuff. It stops the normies that don't have any kind of clue. It just forces you to take them seriously. And that's a reflection of the many artists that have worked on these products and help advance these products over time, solidifying a reputation and showcasing their skill and ability to allow you to have something pretty impressive in your basement. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.